I think we are ready to get started. So welcome everybody to the Social Work Pathways session between Alpena Community College and Western Michigan University School of Social Work. And we're really excited that all of you are here today. And we're recording this session, so it'll also be available for people who were not able to attend today. And so I think we're going to go ahead and share our slide deck. And so we have a presentation that we want to go through that Katrina Goodall, our Manager of Recruitment and Outreach, is going to lead us in. And then I have a few parts, and then we will have plenty of time for Q&A and just kind of like talking through what do we do in terms of like if you're interested in the social work career and in completing your BSW or even MSW at Western Michigan University, how do you go about doing all of that? So we'll present, and then we'll leave plenty of time for Q&A at the end.
So as Dr. Harrison said, this is the information session between Western Michigan University School of Social Work and Alpena Community College information session. Did my screen just change?
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm going to double check everything this morning because my computer does not want to cooperate. So before we get started, we would like to recognize that Western Michigan University is located on lands historically occupied by the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations. Please join me for a moment of silence to acknowledge and honor this ancestral land of the Three Fires Confederacy, the sacred lands of all indigenous people and their continued presence. The United States would not exist but for the free, enslaved labor of Black people, Black lives, knowledge, and skills have been stolen due to violence and white supremacy. Thank you. So, just a brief agenda for today. We want to give you lots of information so you can make the most educated decision possible when it comes down to our BSW program. So we're going to start with the introduction. Give you some reasons why you should consider pursuing social work, talk about some points of pride, talk about our different program options, our locations, the BSW pathway, talk a little bit about the student experience, student involvement opportunities, our admissions criteria, applying to WMU, and financing your BSW education. And then at the end, we will have a question and answer session, and then just give you some information on how to keep in contact with us. Are we good?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So my name is Katrina Goodall, and I am the Manager of Recruitment and Outreach, and I use the she, her, hers pronouns. And I know that you may be wondering, what in the world is a Manager of Recruitment and Outreach? What does that fancy title mean? So this just simply means that one of my duties is to act as a liaison for the student recruitment and retention. So I'm like the first point of contact for the school. They appointed me to be your contact throughout the course of the program. So everything from application to any questions that you encounter during the application process, all the way through graduation. What that means as a social worker to me is that I get to share lots of resources with you, so that makes my little social worker heart happy that I'm able to do that. Also help with any kind of problem solving you may need, and present some different options to our prospective students, current students, and even some alumni. So so before you even start on your journey here at Western Michigan University, we have a team already set up and ready to work with you to help you make that transition. So in addition to your Alpena Community College advisors, we have a team here to assist you. So I will start at the top left corner with Dr. Linda Reeser. She is our BSW program director here at WMU. She handles things like the orientation, she teaches courses, things like that. We also have Jill Hamilton in the right, at the top right. She is the academic advisor for the BSW program. She was previously also handling pre-social work, but now she's strictly focused mostly on BSW. We also have Lucy Kent Bracken. She's new to the university and to the college as an academic advisor, so she's also handling BSW students. And then we have Marion Triplett, who is our Director of Field Education. It sounds like most of you already know Dr. Jennifer Harrison, so I will allow her to introduce herself.
Great, thanks so much. And again, my name is Jennifer Harrison, and I'm a proud social worker and also a professor and the director of Western Michigan University School of Social Work. So in that role, I get to do a little bit of teaching and some research, and I've had the opportunity to do some trainings with Northeast Michigan Community Mental Health on topics of behavioral health. But also I get to outreach and make sure that really the social work profession and a social work education is available to a diverse group of stakeholders throughout the state of Michigan and beyond, so that we can really have a representation in all of our communities, both rural, suburban, and urban, as well as amongst different individuals to meet the really significant needs that we have in the social work field in a bunch of areas, including behavioral health and child welfare and medical social work and school-based social work and community organization work. So really excited for the partnership with Alpena Community College, and also for the opportunity for those of you that are interested to continue on with your social work degree at the baccalaureate or the master's level, and to join Katrina and myself as fellow social work professionals.
Thank you. So now that you know a little bit more about us, we're looking to hear from you all, and thank you for listening to thank you for listening to what we do. So if you would individually just give us a little more information, tell us about yourself, starting with your preferred name, preferred pronouns, and your area of social work interest. Who would like to go first?
I think that's everyone.
Right.
Okay.
Great. Thanks so much for sharing.
Yes. So there's a lot of connections in this space and in this room already. I heard somebody mention Spring Arbor. I did get my undergrad from Spring Arbor University. So there's some Spring Arbors in the house. And then there's also a lot of MSWs in the room, so that's exciting because these are your people that can help, guide you through the profession. Use them to network and interact to find out, how you can best move through the program. So as we talk today, please don't hesitate to ask lots of questions. This session is specifically for you. We don't want you to leave here with any lingering questions. So you can either ask the questions as we go, or you can write them down and ask them at the end at our question and answer session. Okay? So I just want you to feel, free and comfortable to ask questions as we go along. Okay?
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about why social work. I think several of you kind of spoke to this, thinking about what are some of the different professions that are the helping professions, and where does social work fit in that. So I'm hopefully going to make the case of why social work fits in that, and I'll just tell you a little bit about my own personal journey. I know people talked about their background in psychology. Actually, my undergraduate degree was in psychology and women's studies from Michigan State University, and I had every intention of pursuing a PhD in clinical, applying to doctoral programs and doing interviews at a couple of different programs in a multi-state region, and then had to come crawling back to my honors thesis advisor in the spring of my final year of my undergraduate and say, so what I want to do is I want to work with people, but in their community environments, and I want to impact people and families, but I also want to impact policies. And my thesis advisor said, yes, Grasshopper, yes, that is social work. And so I ended up applying late in the spring of my senior year to my MSW program at the University of Houston, and I've really been glad that I did it in terms of the scope of work that I'm able to do as a social worker, and that I've been able to do throughout many decades of a career. But I do think that sometimes about social work as the one social worker that they know. So they've either worked with a social worker in a school setting or in a child welfare setting or in a hospital setting, and then they think that all social work is what those social workers do. And those are three really important areas of the social work field. But I also want to talk about, like, what are some of the other areas? So, like, why would you be interested in social work? You know, first of all, that we are amongst the helping professions. And I do think that people go into social work, which is very much a trade, right? Like, so sometimes I'll talk about, like, social workers have as much in common as they do with political scientists, because we are teaching people in the skills of a trade. We'll talk about the internship and the field placement and how that's so critical in the social work education. So we're a helping profession. We use a holistic approach. So again, we're concerned with what we call the person and environment fit, of not just working with an individual on their needs, but working with their entire environment and how they and their families fit within their communities and impacting at all of those levels of care. The perspective that we use in social work is a strengths-based perspective, as opposed to like a deficit-based perspective where we're looking for all of the things that are wrong with people. But instead, in addition to looking at those needs or those weaknesses, we're really focused, which I'm glad that there are so many people here from Northeast Michigan Community Mental Health, as well as people from MDHHS, both of whom organizations also ascribe to this strengths perspective, whether we're talking about individuals with behavioral health needs or families that are being served in the adult or child welfare system. This idea that we really need to leverage all of the strengths that people already bring to the table, that they already have a lot of solutions in them. One of the key advantages of the social work profession is that it offers a pathway to licensure at both the bachelor's and the master's level. And actually the master's level in social work is what's called the terminal degree. So it means that you can be licensed as an independent provider, as a licensed master social worker at the master's level, whereas many of the other helping professions or health professions require a doctoral degree to be licensed to practice independently in the state of Michigan and other. That in behavioral health, which is primarily my field of research and practice, actually 65% of the behavioral health services that are provided throughout the U.S. and Canada are provided by social workers. So more than psychologists, counselors, psychiatrists, psychiatric nurses, all put together. So we'll talk about the flexibility. I'm sorry, did I interrupt somebody? Okay. So we'll talk about the flexibility in terms of the different job sectors which social workers work, which sometimes, you know, people understand some of the main ones, but maybe don't know about the policy level work in social work or the administrative work in social work, and then also just the market growth rate. So social work, as some of the key employers in the area spoke about, you know, we have significant needs in social work. So there are lots of jobs out there for social workers, and there's also pathways to promotion and to other opportunities. So other opportunities, if you go from being an employment specialist to other positions within Northeast Michigan Community Mental Health, if you go from being a benefits caseworker at MDHHS to being foster care licensing supervisor or a program manager within DHHS, so that social workers both, it's a growing field, and also that there's these pathways for promotion in social work, which are our advantage over some other fields in the area. So we'll go on, and so let's talk about kind of the scope of social work practice. What makes social work unique? So several people talked about their background and their interest in psychology, in sociology, in anthropology and political science and the other sciences. So sometimes people ask, like, how is social work different than psychology, or how is social work different than sociology? So here we have this Venn diagram, which really shows that that in the fields of psychology, the unique things about psychology are that it's person-centered, and the pathology approach of really looking deeply at interpersonal and individual pathology and diagnostics. Also, the ability to do psychological testing is unique to the field of psychology. And then in sociology, the unique things in sociology are that it's primarily like an academic or a theory focus, and it's really focused on that like large level, you know, like those exclusively the societal level. And then if we look at some of the things that are combined with psychology and sociology, that they both have the terminal degree, being the PhD, and I think I described previously that the terminal degree in social work is the master's level. In social work, some of the unique things about social work is that there is not a graduate degree that's required. So like I mentioned, you can become licensed at the bachelor's level in social work, and you can practice for the next 40 years of your career as a licensed bachelor social worker, and also have these opportunities for advancement. The terminal degree is the MSW. It's focused on practice. So like I mentioned, it is in the best possible way. That it's focused on developing people who are going to practice at the micro, meso, and macro level as social workers, that person and environment fit, the strengths approach, kind of that practice at all levels. So we often talk about in social work that we use the dialectic of even if we're working with an individual or a family, we're thinking about how the policies and systems impact them. And the reverse is also true. Even if we're working as a lead administrator or as a policy wonk, or as a data analyst in an area of practice, we're thinking about how those policies and data impact the people and families we serve. And then some of the things with psychology and social work are that they both provide counseling services, they're direct service, they offer professional licensing, that they've got substantial job growth, which is quite different from sociology, which is a little stagnant in terms of job growth, that in sociology and social work, that they both study group and social environment needs, and then something that combines all three of the fields are the focus on research and also on human behavior theories and developmental theories about how we grow and change as humans, and as humans that exist in our communities and organizations. So that's kind of a shared thing. So a couple of things that make social work unique, just as the terminal degree of the MSW, licensure available at the bachelor's and master's level, strong job growth, person and environment focus, and that strength-based approach.
Thank you. So we are proud to serve in 3 communities in Southwest Michigan. We have campuses in Benton Harbor, Grand Rapids, and Kalamazoo. We currently at this time do not offer a fully online program. However, the majority of courses are available in an online format. So the type of classes that we offer are in person, and these are traditional classroom work that meets at certain times and locations. We also offer courses in a hybrid format, and that's a combination of classroom and virtual work and meeting times. We also offer asynchronous courses, in something that we call distance education. And distance education classes do not require you to meet at scheduled times. We also offer fully synchronous distance education, where you would meet in classes that are at scheduled times, just like an in-person class, but you're in an online environment. And then finally, we offer partially synchronous distance education, where distance education classes that have some synchronous and some asynchronous instruction. So we know that oftentimes this is important when it comes down to choosing when you attend and how you attend and what is available to you.
And I just want to add to that Katrina's talking about, even though, so our accreditation body says that a fully online program is kind of like a separate program option. So we don't offer a fully online program, but we do offer and will continue to offer each one of our required courses we'll offer at least one section in a fully remote or kind of like fully online, like this virtual synchronous, like we're meeting now, format. So if you choose if you're living in Alpena, you could still attend both the BSW and the MSW and complete all of your required courses in a fully online platform. But since we also offer the same courses in an in-person or hybrid platform, that's why we're not considered a fully online program. And we can also talk about that even with our electives, that there are often options for both online as well as in-person options. So I want to talk about the job options, and I realize that the writing on this is super small. So just want to clarify that some of the different jobs that social workers do are, for instance, in the green, in working with families, children, and youth. And that could be, actually I have to put my glasses on. So that could be with working with in individual clinics, that could be in working in the child welfare space, that could be working in school settings, that could be working in therapy settings for children and youth, that could be working for child protection services. And that's expected to grow by 15% in the next several years. In the area of mental health, which is expected to experience a 23% job growth, we have all of the working with people with intellectual disabilities, working on case management services, working on therapy services, working with people with co-occurring disorders, working on LGBTQ and gender inclusive services, working with military and veteran members, etc. And then we've got health, which is actually one of the highest areas of growth in terms of social work, in working in geriatric settings, in hospital settings, in clinic settings, in public health programs, and in skilled nursing facilities, as well as providing social work health services within school settings. And that's expected to grow 27% within the next several years. Community management is another area that sometimes people don't think about in terms of social work, in policy and planning, in social action. I know that, John, you talked about in social justice movements and community outreach, in working on on supported employment services and community management on political campaigns. Also, I want to mention, of course, that one of our two U.S. senators, Debbie Stabenow, is a MSW social worker, and that we've got several, many politicians. I think that right now there are 3 senators who are social workers, as well as a variety of sometimes of executive directors of community mental health settings and of DHHSs, and sometimes principals or other leaders in intermediate school districts, etc. And then we've got the non-traditional. So everything from employee assistance programs to nonprofit organizations to being consultants, like clinical consultants, to working on labor policies or other policy levels, which is expected to experience that 75% of U.S. businesses include a role or a consultancy role of social workers in some capacity. So just to think about, as you think about kind of like the one or more social workers that you already know, to think about the areas that they work in, but also all of the other areas that exist within social work. And I'll just add that, throughout my career as a social worker, I've had the opportunity to work in school settings, to work in inpatient psychiatric settings, to work in inpatient medical surgical and emergency room settings, to work for community mental health organizations, to work in a private practice, to work in nonprofit organizations, to work in a child welfare school-based center, and to work and to be engaged in research and policy making. And all of that I've been able to do under this rubric of still being a social worker. So in the social work field, it's diverse enough that you don't necessarily have to go back to school a bunch of times in order to pursue these different kind of foci of your career throughout your career. So that's been just really just kind of the privilege of my professional career, to be able to do all those things and still be doing those as a social worker. So.
Yes. So the practice spectrum for social workers, as Dr. Harrison mentioned earlier, there's 3 different spectrums. We work on a number of different levels. So the first level is the micro level, which we sometimes term that as the inner circle, where you work one-on-one with individuals and families. Examples might be case management or private individual therapy. And then the next level is the meso or middle circle, where you will work with groups. So some examples of that might be a support group or a family. And then the last level is the macro level, where you work with institutions and systems. Some examples of this might be working in local government or running a nonprofit organization. And so although both our licensure system and our graduate programs make you pick a level of practice, the reality is that most social workers do a little bit of each in any job, and all work at places along the spectrum throughout their careers, as Dr. Harrison indicated. So how do I get there? What is the pathway that I need to take in order to pursue my BSW? So how you would start is you would apply to Western and accept admission or transfer in. So I'm going to start at the top, and if you'll follow the arrows, I'm not sure how visible it is on the graphic, but so the first step is applying and getting accepted. The second step is to meet with the academic advisor and then declare social work as your intended major. So then you would research and apply for scholarships. The scholarship deadline is February 15th, so you might want to notate that somewhere. So if as you're coming in the program, you also want to start thinking about the different types of funding options that you have, because some of them do have time limits on it. And then the next thing you want to do is attend the BSW information session, which you're attending today. So you won't have to worry about doing this again. And then you also need to meet the requirements for pursuing your BSW. So that's completion of or current enrollment in Social Work 2100 or transfer equivalent. You need to earn at least 30 undergraduate credit hours and maintain an overall GPA of a 2.5. So after you met those requirements, you want to submit the BSW application. And the fall admission deadline is March 15th. And the spring admission deadline is September 15th. And I know I'm throwing a lot of dates out there to you all, but you can also contact me and we can talk about it individually as well. Okay? Then you want to accept your admission and attend the mandatory BSW orientation. The dates are to be determined by our BSW director, Dr. Linda Reeser. And then finally, you want to meet with the academic advisor at Western to register for your BSW courses. So that's kind of the pathway that you would take in order to get into the BSW program. Okay? I know I went a little fast on that, so again, if you have questions, just shout them out or notate them down. Does anybody have any questions? Everybody good?
I know there were a couple of people that also had questions about the MSW program. And so, we've got this little piece of information about, actually after you complete 60 credits and undergraduate credits, which you might complete all exclusively at Alpena Community College and have a minimum GPA of 3.0, you're also eligible to apply for Western Michigan University's accelerated MSW program, which enables you to complete your last 12 undergraduate credits in graduate coursework, but at the undergraduate tuition rate, and then basically brings your MSW program down from the usual 60 credits down to 48 credits. And then just a little bit in terms of the other pathways to the MSW, since some people were interested in that, is if you have completed your BSW within the last 5 years, at Western Michigan University and any other school of social work, you will be eligible to apply for our advanced standing MSW program, which again takes the MSW down from the typical 60 credits for people with any other undergraduate degree down to 39 credits. So it really takes a full year off of your MSW studies and enables people to complete both their BSW and their MSW within as little as 5 years. So that's something that, and we're happy to talk to, and I didn't realize that there were going to be a couple people here who were maybe interested in the MSW as well, but happy to talk about the different MSW programs that we have. And like with our BSW, we do offer every one of our required MSW courses in at least one section that's a fully remote. And not only is it fully remote, but it's also evening or weekend schedule format. So our program, our BSW and our MSW program are really targeted toward people who are working professionals, who are caring for families, who are, going to school to get their social work degree is not the only thing they got going on, that they got a lot of other responsibilities. So that's one of the things that you need to be aware of is we've been intentionally accessible with both our BSW and MSW curriculum to people throughout the state of Michigan and beyond. Yeah, so I want to actually, this is one of our graduates, Dustin Corwin, who had completed his associate's degree at Kellogg Community College and then transferred in and went on to complete both his BSW and his MSW at Western Michigan University, and was also awarded the one of the BSW Students of the Year by the National Association of Social Workers Michigan Branch, so we're really proud of his work. And also Like Katrina, Dustin's focus in his MSW studies is actually more on that macro, or more what we call our policy planning and administration concentration. We have 2 concentrations within our MSW. Those are policy planning and administration and clinical social work. So we want to talk about different ways to get involved as a student, and I'll just kind of clarify that since COVID, it used to be that a lot of our registered student organizations were exclusively in person, and we've really shifted that since we're living with COVID, so that all of these different groups that you can become involved in, both of our honor societies, Eta Sigma and Phi Alpha, as well as the Students in Action group, which is another registered student organization, as well as our School of Social Work committees, so our committees that you could serve on with faculty and staff members, and then also many of the activities at the National Association of Social Workers Michigan are all accessible to people throughout the state of Michigan. So all of the meetings and many of the activities, as well as trainings. We're going to have a training this Friday on multisystemic therapy and the family preservation model that I hope some of the staff in child welfare in Alpena and surrounding counties are also attending, because that's a free training that's available remotely to all Michigan child welfare workers. And then we're having a presentation in person on trans medicine from Dr. Steph Schuster from Michigan State University later in November, but also an online a conversation with Billy Mills, who is an indigenous tribal member, as well as a gold medal Olympic athlete in the decathlon. And so there's kind of this combination of things that are in person and things that you would go to one of our 3 campus locations, Benton Harbor, Grand Rapids, or Kalamazoo. And then also about 50 to 60% of these activities that we're talking about in the student experience that are available and accessible remotely as well as in person. Yeah, so I am really passionate about rural social work. I've lived in a rural community and worked in rural social work for a long time, in rural health clinic and federally qualified rural health clinics and in rural school systems, and I live in a rural community now. So worked in rural behavioral health. One of the things that social work brings that is another kind of unique thing to us is that in your BSW and also in your MSW, if you choose to pursue that, you will complete an internship or a field placement that is really where that real life experience for deep learning and really adding to your resume happens. So in the BSW, in the final year of your BSW, you'll complete a 400-hour field placement working under the supervision of a social worker in the community. So it might be at Northeast Michigan Community Mental Health. It might be at DHHS. It might be at the local hospital. It might be at a local veterans center. It might be at a local school. But it's going to be doing social work, so that everybody knows throughout the U.S. that if you have your BSW or MSW, that the day you finish your social work and the day you get ready to graduate is the day before you are ready to enter the field as a practicing social worker. So that's why that internship, we call field education our signature pedagogy, because that internship is so central. It's really the best place where all of those social work competencies are practiced and refined and learned. So one of the things that's also important about your internship in social work is that we set you up with an internship, and we've got a variety of our community partners that are here. So your internship, if you live in Alpena, your internship is likely going to be in Alpena. If you decide, well, I really want my internship to be in Mount Pleasant, then we've got internships in Mount Pleasant as well, or if you live closer to there. But we're going to set you up with an internship in your own community. So unlike some other fields where it's like, well, you're supposed to do an internship, but you have to find one yourself, it's kind of a choose-your-own adventure, we don't do that in social work. So we have affiliation agreements with all of our internship organizations, and you apply for your internship, and then we have over 600 potential agencies in Michigan, some nationally and some even internationally, for you to choose from, and we're developing more all the time. Right, so as we continue with this partnership with Alpena Community College, I anticipate that we'll probably add many more internships in the Alpena area, specifically for students who are living there and attending their BSW or MSW program at Western. So your internship for your BSW is 400 hours, typically over 2 semesters. So it's between 12 and 16 hours a week. They're typically unpaid, although I will say that a lot of internship organizations are, in order to recruit and retain interns, as well as to recruit them for potential staff positions, are sometimes offering what we call an employment-based placement, which is where you're working for an organization where you're also interning. So you might continue to receive your regular salary or even a small stipend to offset travel costs or other costs or some amount of tuition remittance to help attract people to their internship site. So internships do typically require daytime availability because that's when the majority of social work practice is happening. So even though we do have internships that offer evening and weekend availability, since most social work, even in hospitals and in jails and in other settings that are open 24 hours a day, occurs like generally during that 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. time frame, then most of the hours do require some daytime availability. And so just the important part is that you're going to be doing social work for those 400 hours, and then that adds to your resume so that you can enter the field as a BSW or even an MSW social worker with everyone knowing that you already have the requisite experience to join the profession.
Okay. So the admissions criteria for the BSW program, again, just to recap, is the completion of Social Work 2100, the transfer equivalent. Currently, there is not a transfer equivalent at ACC. However, you can be dually enrolled at WMU or take the transfer equivalent at another community college. Also, you need to have earned at least 30 undergraduate credit hours and maintain a minimum overall GPA of 2.5.
And so one of the things that we have in place with the transfer agreement with Alpena Community College is that we want to make sure that if you follow the transfer agreement, which we have on our website, which Dr. V can provide for you, which Alpena Community College has on their website, that you do not lose even one credit. Like, it's important that you can complete your full associate's degree at ACC. You can apply even after you've completed only 30 credits and that Social Work 2100 or the equivalent to Western Michigan University, and then you just like seamlessly go on to complete your BSW at Western Michigan University. So you have an associate's in 2 years, you've got a bachelor's degree in 4 years, you've got potentially a master's degree in 5 years between the courses that you take at Alpena Community College and Western Michigan University.
Okay.
Colin, did you have something you wanted to add? Yeah, okay.
All right, when you're working with 3 monitors, sometimes finding your mouse is like impossible. I did want to point out, because the Social Work 2100 is a course we take here at Western, correct?
It is, or at another community college, right?
Or
So there's
another
not currently an equivalent at ACC. That's right, isn't it, Dr. V?
Yeah, we were substituting. They had to do both Psych 101 and Social 123 for that until they moved
Well,
on.
we have an option. So if a student is in the program right now and you're looking to take Social Work 2100, we would have you apply as a guest student. I'll share the links with this afterwards and send an email out to the team so you'll have this. Guest application is really simple. The good thing about the guest application is you get to take that course with us at your current community college pricing point. So the benefit of the student is you get to still do that at, of course, Alpena's cost structure for that course. So the guest application is really simple. I'll make sure I share that with the end. I just wanted to share that since I saw that in this. I thought it was a good point. So definitely you can keep right in sync. Also, I'll share all the links too towards where you can find the agreement and the track of all the courses that you need to take.
Thanks, Colin. So what does the application consist of? So again, transferring to WMU, you must apply both to the university and apply to the School of Social Work major. So what's included in the application? There is a $50 fee for the application. And just for your attendance today, we're providing you with the fee waiver code, which is HH1903. So that application, if you use this code, it will be free to you. We also required a current resume or CV in your application. We also, the application also has essay questions that you'll need to answer. And they ask things about, your work history, your background. Again, also why you're interested in becoming a social worker. We also require 3 professional recommendations. We don't need for you to seek out people well, we don't need those recommendations prior to your application. We just need the contact information, and then our system will send out automated email requesting a letter of recommendation from your contacts as you save and close. And then finally, we need a transcript from the school you graduated from, and any credits, any graduate or any undergrad credits that you want to transfer in. Just a note of caution: you must have all transcripts and references in by the deadline to ensure timely review.
And another kind of a pro tip when you're looking to apply to any program, to any college or community college program, is like I always appreciate it if students or prospective students contact me if they want me to be a recommender for them. So I'll go ahead and reach out to your supervisor at work, reach out to somebody that you volunteered with, reach out to your professors and instructors to ask them if they'd be willing to be a recommendation. And also usually people feel very honored to be a recommender for you. And sometimes I'll say hey, can you send me a bullet point of several things that you'd like me to mention? Every once in a while you won't get a response from someone, or they'll say oh, I don't really feel comfortable being a recommender. So that's where you would know to move on to another person so that your people who were your recommenders were able to get that recommendation into the system in a timely way, because that can hold up your application if you don't have those 3 recommenders in. So you want both someone who can speak to your skills and strengths, as well as someone who will be responsive and will get the work done for completing your recommendation.
So the application deadlines again for the BSW, it's for fall admission again, it's March 15th, 2023. And then for spring admission, it was September 15th. So we're a little late for that one, but we do have another deadline approaching. And also, just to note, transfer students are expected to abide by the application deadlines established for new incoming students. Applications will be reviewed at the close of the deadline date, and the review committee aims to finalize those decisions within an 8-week time frame. So if you apply and you haven't heard back, right away, just know that it does go to a committee. It could take up to 8 weeks to get a decision. Okay. So how do you pay for your BSW? There are scholarships and grants available. We also have funding available from our department. Scholarships that range from anywhere from $500 to $2,000. You can apply every year that you are a student, and the deadline again for the scholarships are March 15th. So both the application and the scholarship will be due around about the same time. There is one application for all scholarships, and then there is a unique application link that will be emailed to you upon submitting your program application. Those notifications go out in late April, early May. Okay. So, back to you all.
Good. If I can, at this point, just to let you know, and Nicole or Peggy jump in, at Northeast Michigan Community Mental Health, our organization is been certified as a student loan reimbursement site. So we are HRSA approved and through the feds. So there's more information on this, just really quick. If you have your, Jenna, Dr. Harris, I don't want to go through, if you have your when you graduate, you'll have an MSW, limited license. You have 2 years in order to complete that. Or you can complete that within 2 years. At that point, at our organization, you apply to the feds for your student loan reimbursement, and if you're accepted, you get $50,000 toward your student loan, up to. For a 2-year commitment to the organization. You get that money up front. If you don't complete the 2 years at the organization, well, we won't talk about that. But it's $50,000 first. If in fact you have more student loans, you can apply for a third year in the program, and I think it's another
25.
that's available.
You can get up to 75 in 3 years.
Okay, so that is available. It's going to be a little ways down the line, for when and there are other organizations, certainly. I can just tell you that across the street, Northeast CMH has this. There are other organizations that have it too in the state. So, if you left us, there is a possibility that if you went to work like for the Veterans Administration or something, then if you stayed with us for a year and you went there, or you were with us for 2 years and you needed a third year, but you wanted to go work for the veterans, you can transfer that to another HRSA, HRSA organization. That's just really brief. Sorry. Is that an adequate summation?
Yes.
And no, not just voice. And substance use can.
Okay.
But we're not.
A handout if anybody
Right.
have a visual.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, right. So thanks so much, Nicole, for bringing that additional handout. And I just want to kind of several organizations in Alpena have done a lot of work to get approved for this National Health Service Corps, which is this HRSA-funded or federally funded program. So this is a huge thing. Like, the cost of college education has gone up and up and up to the extent that it's not affordable for many of us. And we don't have illusions that somehow a $500 to $2,000 scholarship from the School of Social Work is going to make the difference in whether you can complete your BSW or MSW or not. It's meant to augment. We hope that many of you are eligible for Pell funding, that many of you are eligible for other scholarships at Alpena, at Western Michigan, and including some transfer scholarships that are specifically for transfer students. But in addition to that, since most of us are going to have student loans when we graduate with our undergraduate and or graduate degrees, those loan forgiveness programs that are available in the state of Michigan it's actually a funny program called the MSLRP, the Michigan Loan Education Forgiveness or Recovery Program, as well as that National Health Service Corps, which only certain agencies who've applied for it and are eligible for, that can forgive up to $50,000 in 2-year work commitment or $75,000 with a 3-year work commitment. Many people, that forgives all of their student loans. And that's in addition to the public service loan forgiveness program that most social workers are eligible for. Anyone who's working in public or governmental service, which is nonprofit hospitals and community mental health organizations and Veterans Administration and schools and all of that, if you work for 10 years and make your student loan payments for those 10 years, then you're eligible for any remaining student loan that you have to be forgiven based on the public service loan forgiveness. So we're kind of finally, and that's in addition to Governor Whitmer's process of loan forgiveness and President Biden's new program about loan forgiveness. So I think if you put all of those together, we're finally getting to a place where there's a really good funding web for people that want to go to college and then are going to work for the public benefit, which of course social workers do. That's our bread and butter, that's what we do. So all of those programs, make sure to be super curious wherever you go, whatever you decide to study. If you're graduating from high school and going on for your degree, if you already have your degree in family and child life studies from Central Michigan and are thinking about where you might want to get your master's degree, make sure that you're tapping into all of those resources, right? We don't want you to leave, just like we don't want you to leave any credits on the table in your transfer from Alpena to Western. We don't want you to leave any dollars on the table in terms of loan forgiveness, because you're doing important but demanding work in the social work field and in other related fields, so you should get all of the benefits that are associated with that. That has not always been the case in the social work profession, right? So sometimes we would talk about it's a great profession, but you don't get paid very much. That's really shifted in the last several years. Social workers are, MSWs on average, their mean salary for MSWs is $50,000 a year with full benefits. That's a living wage. That's a wage that all of us can feel proud about earning while we're doing important work for our communities. So that was a separate soapbox, right? To add college. We want you to tap into all of the resources to make college accessible and affordable. It's really important. So I think we're at the point where we'd love to answer any questions that you have that have come up during our presentation. And I think, can we stop sharing so that we can see a bigger screen for all of our partners at Alpena? Yeah, and thanks, Colin, for adding to the chat that the transfer scholarship deadline is April 1st of each year. You might be aware that Western Michigan University 2 years ago was actually given the largest gift of any public university in U.S. history from an anonymous donor of $550 million. And one of the things that the donor specified is they really wanted this to add to college being accessible and affordable for a diverse group of students. So that's where, I mean, we've always had that transfer scholarship, but have been able to add resources to that. In looking at an increase in the paid internships, at the opportunities for employment as a student at Western while you're attending school, and for a bunch of other things. So, you know, like that money is being spent to make college an accessible option for more people than it ever has been at Western Michigan University.
I was going to add, we have 3 transfer scholarships. The application criteria is a 3.5 or above. You're automatically entered into the pool. We start our review for transfer scholarships on April 1st. That's the deadline, so as long as the applications are in at that point, we're good. If you decide to come for a spring semester, we will just enter you in for the scholarship application process in April. Could we just issue monies in the fall semester? That's just a process that we have here at Western. Hopefully that get changed soon, but as of now, then we just make sure we take care of our spring admits. You just get entered into the pool. I did want to share, if anyone here is in, scholarships are competitive at Western. When it comes to the 3 scholarships we offer, our prized possession is our PTK, the Phi Theta Kappa scholarship. So if you are a student and you have a 3.75 or above GPA, if you're really doing well, better than I did when I transferred, so congrats to you. But if you're in that pool, you definitely need to join PTK. We insure most everybody from a college gets those scholarships. So definitely, I think most students who are in the Phi Theta Kappa society will earn that scholarship. So definitely, if you're eligible, make sure you join that. I do believe there's a fee to join Phi Theta Kappa at each school. I think it's like $50. But again, well worth it on your end because, again, you're going to get the higher amount. Our other 2 scholarships are $3,500 and $2,500 per year for 2 years. So definitely should really help bridge that gap for the remaining time that you have to get your degrees.
Pretty thorough, right?
Yeah.
I know it's like drinking from a fire hose, right?
And if anyone is interested in receiving copies of the slideshow presentation, if you'll just email me, my email is, again, my name is Katrina Goodall. My email is katrina.m as in Mary, .goodall at wmich.edu. And I can send that information to you all.
Oh yeah, we have, last time, I think Jennifer was here, she brought us some Western pens and goodies, so, yeah. Feel free to take some.
Yeah, and we'll have to send some more to you by mail and let so that you have enough so before I'm up in Alpena next time, hopefully.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Katrina, can you repeat your Gmail? I wasn't fast enough.
Oh, my email is Katrina, Katrina, .m as in Mary, .goodall, GOODALL, at wmich.edu.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also shared a couple of page links. We do have a dedicated page to Alpena students on our website. You can see the transfer guides there. You can see the agreement there. So this just quick, easy links for you to jump in and find. We also do post events, so any events that we're hosting, we'll post on this page. That way, of course, our visit schedule, when we're going to be on campus. We'll also post that, so it's a good resource to see, what's going on at Western that connects to you all.
Yeah, and I do want to add just specifically, I know I'm kind of calling you out, but Greta would love to talk to you about psychology work as different options as you think about what you want to do for college. So I added my my email address and contact phone number to the chat, but also it's just jennifer.harrison@wmich.edu for anybody else. And also, I know that, Jesse, you talked about that you already have your bachelor's degree in family studies from CMU. So we'd love to talk to you also more about the MSW program as an option for your graduate studies.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone. Really appreciate your time.
Nice meeting you all.
Thank you.
All right.